Hey everybody, welcome back to another production meeting. Gang's all here. We have stuff to talk about this week. There's actually news this week, guys. Are you amazed? I'm amazed.
Yes, I'm both amazed and astounded that there's news.
Well, before we get to that, what did you guys do this week?
You guys go first.
Oh, okay.
Everyone, one at a time.
You're right.
Let's see.
Ryan.
I apparently didn't have my list ready. Well, I'm caught up on Rick and Morty, which might be the worst season so far, and by kind of I mean definitively is the worst season so far. I watched Pig with Nicolas Cage, which
You lucky person.
really great. Go see it if you can. It's not for everyone. If you don't like, I'm not gonna say it in a negative way that it's a slow burn indie drama. But if you're intrigued by the word slow burn indie drama, at minimum, you'll probably like Pig. I took Rachel to see it with me, and she does not like slow burn indie dramas, and she liked Pig. So that should be a good standard there of
Wow.
probably one of Nicolas Cage's best performances to date, I would argue. The hits on some emotional levels I wasn't really expecting to. And I saw this before Space Jam, so it's not like I had a low bar for the weekend to compare it to. And it's really, really well made. It tells a surprisingly impactful story for a 90-minute movie about a guy trying to get his pig back. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend going to check it out.
Wow.
It's like John Wick meets Ratatouille.
Okay.
Then I watched Gunpowder Milkshake, which I have a feeling we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
And I watched Fear Street Part 3, which I have a feeling we'll talk about
Yes.
in a little bit.
So I'll go next. I did more than just a homework in Zelda this week. It's funny you said Fear Street. We were in bed and actually had Fear Street on, and I'm like, oh, this is what they're talking about. This show is whacked out. This looks like hot. Like, oh man, everybody's like a zombie and everybody's saying the F bomb or GD every other second. And I'm like, I'm good without this. Sorry, not sorry. So I watched that. No, but I watched Escape Room 2 with Ashley as well. And what's up, Brian?
And I watched Escape Room 2.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's rapid fire our reviews here. I gave it a 5. 5? Okay. Yeah, it's pretty much carbon copy of the first one. If you haven't seen the first one, go watch that. If you have any enjoyment in all of that, you'll probably like this one because it's almost literally the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna pitch in real quick.
Yeah.
I thought the first 2/3 were really entertaining. I think it gets off to a stronger start, and you get a lot of like the way the characters deal with past trauma of the events of the first one, which I really liked. And then it just trips and falls right at the end with like the silliest last 5 minutes I've probably ever seen since Maze Runner.
I will agree with you that I think most of the movie is entertaining in that like it's only like an hour and a half and it goes by fairly quick-ish. I'm at least entertained by each room's puzzle, but I don't appreciate that it's escape room. I mean, that's pretty much what you're coming here for. You're trying to see how they escape from the rooms. But, it's like literally it's copy and paste and copy and paste. And I agree that the last quarter of the movie, I hope you're involving some type of twist in there that I shan't, if you guys want to go see it, it's not so much that it doesn't work. It doesn't need to be in there at all. Yeah. You'll get the exact same movie without it. I'm just like, why do we even need that? So go watch the first one if you haven't. They're pretty much the same. I'd maybe give a slight edge to the first one because it was kind of unique, sort of. And then I was telling Clint before we started recording, Ashley and I started watching on Peacock Dr. Death. We've watched the first 3 episodes because they're free on Peacock, and we are finding this actually pretty enjoyable. It's very interesting. The whole premise is it was based on real events about a doctor who may or may not have been sabotaging surgeries. He was a neurosurgeon. So they're trying to, Alec Baldwin and Christian Slater are basically like, they're not crime fighting doctors, but they act like it, and it's kind of funny, and their chemistry together is sublime. I really like it. The only bad thing is that they're not featured in the episodes as much as I'd like. But they're really funny. Like Christian Slater is like the funny cop, and then Alec Baldwin's kind of like, come on, man, what are you doing? It's really entertaining so far, and I can't wait to watch more of it. And then Clint, what was the name of the guy from Dawson's Creek that we were mentioning?
Joshua Jackson.
Joshua Jackson. I keep forgetting his name, but Joshua Jackson plays the Dr. Christopher Dunch, who is like the infamous doctor in this show, and it's really good. All good acting in this. It's really good. I can't say that it's great, but it's very entertaining. But we'll have to see how it goes. There's only 8 episodes, so we're almost halfway there. And then I played some more Zelda, and then my brother came over, and we played this game called It Takes Two, which is like can be an online co-op game or couch co-op game, where just kind of a platformer. It's cute, it's funny. You know, we played that for about an hour. So did I do anything else? No, I wanted to watch Pig. Really wanted to watch Pig. Passed on Monday. Mr. Ivy and I were going to maybe see it, but things fell through. It's okay. It's okay. We got other priorities. No problem. Pig's gonna be around. We'll probably watch it on demand at some point. So that was my week.
Man, you did a lot. I didn't really do half that much. I started off strong. I watched on, I want to say Thursday night, I ended up watching some horror movie called Separation, which I'm pretty sure we had at our movie theater for a while, because I remember watching the ending, and it was pretty bad and pretty boring, and I was not a huge fan at all. There's like literally one creepy thing in the movie, and I'm pretty sure they added it after the fact just because they were like, hey, we made a horror movie, this is boring, we need to add something scary into it. And they literally just went and added it in there because it literally makes no sense. So yeah, I do not recommend that. Don't watch that. And then I finally watched Nobody after that, after, you know, it's been out for 6 months or whatever. And I really enjoyed that. And I 2 thumbs up for me. That was really good. If you haven't checked it out and you like John Wick, we're going to mention John Wick a lot today. I have a feeling.
Are we?
Good.
Maybe. Watch that. And then I watched the Gunpowder Milkshake, which we'll all talk about once we get to Clint. And
I guess we are mentioning John Wick one more time.
Yeah. And then I played Plague Tale, which I've really enjoyed, about 2/3 of the way through. And I don't think they're going to fumble the end. I've heard it was a good game, and it's been good so far. So I recommend that. Other than that, I'm just happy to hear that Christian Slater is still getting jobs. I don't know what he's been doing the past few years, but you know, it's good to hear that he's on a TV show. Maybe I'll check that out on Peacock.
Decent one at that.
Did you watch Fear Street?
I did not watch the third Fear Street. I watched the second one. Like I said, I'm on that we'll watch the third one tomorrow. I thoroughly enjoyed the second one,
right,
infinitely more than I did the first one. It was more classic, and they didn't really beat around the bush a lot. And I think it clicked more like once you introduce these new killers, or like you're like, oh, I get a backstory here. I'm like, I'm kind of more invested in that. You guys have obviously seen the third one, so you know what's going to happen. But I'm kind of intrigued as to how they're going to approach the third one because of, you know, what they do or what they show in the preview. But I'll let y'all guys talk about that when you get to you, Clint. But yeah.
So I have my list. I'm still picking at Stranger Things season 3. I finished Perry Mason. I know that's been out for like a year, but that was actually really good. Matthew Rhys is amazing in that role. I really liked it. Watched Fear Street, the third one. So Ryan, what did you think? Without spoilers.
I wanted to really like it. There was part of me that just loved it, and that part of me loves The Witch and the music in part 3. And I like that these films kind of all have their respective movies that they're paying homage to. And even though very few of them actually have that much in common with the stories, this does feel very Witch-esque, especially the way they do their character setups. There's things that work and things that don't work, and I'll be as spoiler-free as possible. the big choice that you go into this movie with, I don't think that really works. But there's a couple of things that happen near the climax of this film that are really great. And then when you get to like the finale, I really enjoyed the refreshing, like it's like they were writing their horror movie finale and they were like, well, how would real people do this? I liked that a lot. I don't think it's as good as the second part. I think there's a couple structural problems throughout the whole movie, and there's that. This is not a spoiler. There's an obligatory transition where you go from 1966 to the finale, and I don't think that flows very well. I don't think there's any other way to do it, so it's almost not fair. But I don't think that works quite as well as it thinks it does, and it had me kind of looking back to part one, being like, why didn't part one set a couple of things up? This is hard to do without spoilers because I sound like I'm picking on other things. But
You're like, Matt, just take the headphones off for a second.
Yeah, it's interesting because now I love a lot of the things they did, but it made me ask questions about how much buildup we needed, or how maybe they could have done some things differently or something like that.
Right.
So I thought it was fine. I'm still stuck on like a 6.5. I have not rated it, and I watched it last week or Friday. So I'm gonna say a 6.5. I don't like giving half ratings just because I feel like, honestly, I don't know. I'm having trouble.
I you know what's funny though is like I'm with you. I kind of gave this like the same rating as I did like the original trilogy. Like part one is very A New Hope. Like you kind of setting all this up, and you're kind of like setting up the story, and then like part two is very Empire, where like this was like part two is very much darker, and it was very Friday the 13th homage, and the Hooded Carroller and whatever. And then part three is like Return of the Jedi, where it's just kind of like you can't have this one without the first two, and you kind of like, yeah, okay, that's fine. As a series as a whole, I probably would give a 7, because it tries and it succeeds in parts and it doesn't in others.
I called this third movie the Kung Fu Panda effect, where it's a weak third movie and it makes for a strong trilogy.
Yeah, that's fair.
One of the reasons I think I enjoyed the second movie more, albeit it is a better movie, is I'm just not a fan personally, and this is what makes me nervous about this third movie, and maybe it'll make more sense in this third movie after I watch it, of the lead character. I don't know if it's the actress or the character itself, but it's just kind of hard to like root for her or want to root for her. So hopefully that makes more sense. I just was not a fan of her in the first movie, and the lack of her in the second movie made it all the better for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I think she's doing a good job. There's something in the direction where she just comes off as a little too mean.
Yeah.
I want to say they're probably just playing against type, but it might not work. There's a couple things in this overall, I think in that whole trilogy where they're trying to play as many little things against what other horror films would do, and like 2/3 of them work.
Right.
Or 2/3 of it. Or yeah.
Yeah. I think that her character changes a little bit in the third one.
Yeah. You get more, I think, more of an empathetic connection.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
So yeah, series as a whole, I give it a 7. So I did watch I just got done with Gunpowder Milkshake. This was a weird. This is a very. This is a very hard movie to kind of like grade, because this is a very over stylized world, and it is a John Wick-esque world. However, unlike John Wick, which, albeit a very good movie and a very good set of movies, I wouldn't say it's a trilogy because we're having a fourth one, so a good set of movies. I think John Wick takes itself a little too seriously at times, where this is just like, F it. We know what we're doing, and we're going to run with it, and we know that this is ridiculous, and we're just going to do it. there are moments in this movie where I was just like, okay, all right. And then like Ryan, like at the beginning of this movie, yeah, it's kind of slow, but it like builds to this like climax that you're like, cool, all right.
Yes, I like to give a rating to most movies like by the end of the first act to kind of get a baseline for where I think of it, especially if I'm not like really invested in like Fear Street Part 3. I didn't do that. I've still decided, but this one I was like 4, and then by throughout the movie I was like 4, 5, 6, 7, 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd end with like a 7. I think just because it didn't. I think it knew that it wasn't John Wick or whatever, and it was trying to be its own thing in like a very hyper stylized way. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna throw in there. I would give this a 6, but just and I sent you guys that text just for that one hospital fight scene. I'm giving this a 7 because that might have been the most ridiculous fight scene I've seen all year. And
Right.
that had me seriously laughing out loud because it was so ridiculous. So I enjoyed that, even as improbable and impractical it was. It was fun to see that on screen.
yeah.
I agree with that. I ended as a 6. There's a point where this film peaks and then it kind of keeps going. I think the finale is really weak, and it feels like there's no stakes by the end of it. I was like, oh, nothing. I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of lost some of the weight that the film felt like it was going to carry for a little bit. But I overall enjoyed it. It's a fun watch. Settle into it. Like if you can't just turn. I almost didn't get into it. You have to settle into it. When you get to the bowling alley, if you don't like it, you can leave.
Yeah. Once that scene's over, if you're not feeling it, that's the movie. So it's like, just go ahead and check out. I will say this though, like the ending. You said there weren't any stakes. I just almost feel like you said that John Wick takes itself too seriously. This movie just didn't care about rules in this world at all. Like the end of the movie, and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess we just are gonna end it right here. Which that was another thing. Is that a spoiler? That last fight scene, that shot, the way the tracking shot as everyone was coming through, that was really nice too. It was very old boy. I enjoyed it.
I caught that as well. I was like, we're doing one big left to right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool, but still cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Kingsman.
Yeah, I think that this movie does it borrows a lot of styles. It borrows like a lot of different movies, like you said. Like, I would argue that this is not very John Wick, but in a sense it is because of the world that it builds. There's a lot of like old 50s type. I mean, especially in the beginning with the cars in the diner and everything, and then it turns into, like you said, Matt, like this Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, Kill Bill kind of hybrid, and then it turns into, like you said, like this old boy type revenge movie. It's just, it's, and I would argue that just push yourself into that hospital scene. If you can't stomach that hospital scene, or get past and kind of like flow with the movie by then, I would argue that, because once you see that, then it's like, okay, this movie obviously knows that it's ridiculous. It obviously knows that it's not John Wick or like these big budget action movies, and it's gonna give it a little bit more, not lightheartedness, but it's just gonna have more fun with it.
I will say this though, like this movie came when I didn't read anything about this movie. I just knew it had Karen Gilliam and she was shooting guns, and I'm like, that's dope. I'm gonna watch this. And then we get in and we watch the movie, and then the kid shows up from My Spy, and I'm like, you have not aged at all, or like very little. And I'm like, My Spy was filmed like 6 years ago. When was this filmed? And apparently this movie was filmed, I guess, in early 2019. But I'm still like, is this kid ever gonna grow up? And is she gonna do is this her role? Is she typecast now into this, like, I want to follow these, anti-heroes around and try to be just like them?
Yeah. I don't know.
Poor kid.
Right.
My Spy too.
All right. So are we ready for some news?
Yeah, buddy.
All right. We got a Batgirl. Leslie Grace. It's gonna be a Batgirl.
Didn't we just get a Batgirl?
I didn't want to be that guy, but I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, don't we already know this? Or Maybe
How
was
many
it
Batgirls are there? What's going on here?
just a
What other-
multiverse?
What other Batgirl did we get?
Could have sworn there was another Batgirl. Was there a Batwoman?
Maybe it was
That one.
Supergirl.
Okay.
Uh,
That's what I'm thinking
Supergirl.
of.
Yeah, there's Supergirl that was cast in Flash.
So we got a Batwoman, but this is
Yes.
a Batgirl.
Yes, this is Barbara Gordon.
Okay.
There is a difference.
One's taller.
And
a little bit
older.
older. Yeah, a little bit older. And a little bit more lesbian. So there's that.
It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more lesbian.
just a smidge. So that just threw me off. It is, by the way.
He's blowing everybody up here.
So yes, Leslie Grace, she's best known for In the Heights. She was just in the Heights as Jimmy Smith's daughter. I think this is a good casting choice. I think a little bit.
Wait, that's her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm down with that. I really liked her in that. She's
Yeah,
probably my
see?
favorite one.
See, we can get on board with Batgirl.
There you go.
It's
I
Barbara
can't wait to
Gordon.
see her as younger woman.
Prepubescent Batwoman.
We're all gender fluid here. There's no girls and boys. It's just Bat.
Bat.
Yeah, the Bat.
The Bat. Okay, so moving on. So Neil Gaiman is getting another one of his books put into a series. I think this is supposed to be a 6-part series. And I'm probably going to butcher this. Anansi Boys. I guess he is one of the characters from American Gods. He was the trickster god that was, I think, is an African god, to be honest with you, because he's played by Orlando Jones in American Gods on Stars. This is going to be on Amazon. So Amazon bought this. So, yay. What do you guys think?
Wait, are you telling me now that not only did Christian Slater get a job, that who was that? Orlando, what's his face?
Orlando Jones.
Orlando, he's got another job too?
Well, he had one on American Gods, but American Gods is canceled. So I'm not sure if he's.
Oh, they'll bring him back. He's gonna get a job. It's one of those weeks,
think
man.
so?
Yeah.
All right.
Unless I don't see him putting him back in Sprite commercials.
Are they Sprite or 7-Up commercials?
7-Up. You're right. Sorry. My bad. 7-Up yours. There we go. That was a
my
commercial,
Lord.
man. Make
I know.
7-Up yours.
Wow. Any thoughts on Neil Gaiman, his TV show?
I like the first season of American Gods. I never watched the rest, but I enjoyed it. I'm sure that's good. I mean, there's a reason they want to make more of it, at least a spinoff. So I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Zack Snyder is working on Army of the Dead 2.
Thank God. I was waiting ever since I saw the first one.
I know, me too.
I need to know what's going to happen.
I was never waiting for this. I don't know why we need this.
We need to see the 3 things he didn't add in the first one. Is my mic okay now?
It's
Yes.
perfect.
I think
Perfect.
my mic came unplugged and then it was using my laptop's thing. That's why I just didn't see it. Okay.
That's it. Yeah, you're so smooth now. Keep
Alex
talking.
is
I
gonna be
like
like,
listening to your
Alex.
voice.
Alex is like, my opinion is going to be heard.
This is what I think.
Just for Space Jam.
Wait. This is a thing? Wait, already? With the Army of the Dead 2? Why?
Because we're reviewing them and we don't like them, so we have to watch more of them.
More of this. Plus, he signed a first look deal with Netflix, so that's probably why.
Well, hopefully he brings back his director of photography.
I don't think he can fire that guy.
You know, he's not bringing back any of the cast.
Joke's on you,
Or
Ryan.
all
This
of
is
the
going to be
cast.
gonna be a prequel.
It better be about time travel and robots because
No, joke's
Just
on you.
wait.
They're all going to come back
Just
as the
wait.
zombies.
Speaking of a prequel,
Is that what it's supposed to be?
Army of Thieves is coming out, and it's got its first look, and they're having a Comic-Con panel this weekend. So we may get a trailer for Army of Thieves, starring, I can't even remember his character's name, but it's the German guy, the safecracker that they.
Oh,
brought.
I'm so glad that he can.
One of
star
the
in it.
entertaining ones.
Yeah, the only entertaining person in the whole movie.
Dietrich, right? I'm sure it was Dietrich.
So, sure.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, Hans Gruber.
Why do we need this, by the way?
Yeah, exactly. Because Netflix writes the checks. I don't know. It's either Disney or Netflix. You guys got to pick your week. Moving on. So, Marvel Studios is setting up an animation division. What?
Dieter.
Ah,
It
okay.
was really close.
What, like mustard?
No, that's Dijon. Anyway, so Marvel Studios is setting up an animation division. We're gonna get more animated stuff from Marvel Studios. Yay? Nay?
Sure.
I'm kind of surprised it's taken them this long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess they're having positive feedback from What If, and so they're gonna have more animations like that.
I did see some line of Funkos coming out for What If. Like, what is it? I don't know the comics too well, but like Doctor Strange is like a vampire or something. I haven't.
Zombie? I don't know.
I don't know. They were cool. So if they correlate with the What Ifs, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yes. Cool beans.
I have a feeling this is just somebody looked at the bottom line and was like, wait, how much are we paying people to do these? We probably could do this cheaper if we just made our own little division for it.
Probably.
Yeah, fact.
Well, I also think that this is probably like a good way to start telling even smaller stories that are not like higher class comic book characters. Because I think What If was just a way to kind of like tip their toe into like the animation style of it. And then, you know, with the MCU making all these B-class characters like stars now, like they're highly popular characters now. So, you know, taking their animation and just starting to pluck like these D-list characters, they can just be like, you want to see these characters? Here's an animated movie, whatever.
You want to see Grass Man? Here you
Yeah,
go.
right. Polka Dot Man. That's DC. But anyway, yeah. Moving on. So there's a couple trailers that dropped this week. Did you guys watch these trailers?
Probably not.
I'm like, yes, no.
Yeah,
I
I
did some
trailers,
homework.
come on.
I pay attention to the things you post in the
I
group.
totally
I'm a good student.
watched that thing that you totally posted.
You are,
about.
Ryan. So it's like a crapshoot with you two. So all right. So first up is
Make something up on the spot, and they will have to believe you because they didn't watch the trailer.
so Mask got a trailer. I'm just kidding.
I was like, what is that? I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's an 80s cartoon. Matt should know what it is. Malignant got a trailer. New horror movie by James Wan.
I've made a conscious decision not to watch this, mainly because it was blowing up on my Twitter feed like as a promo, and I saw it. And I also saw, I think that you posted it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to know anything about this movie. I'm sure I'm going to accidentally stumble into it eventually. I have not stumbled into it yet, at least with sound on, so I don't know what's going on yet.
So not only did Matt not watch it, you posting it is part of the reason he didn't watch it, is what I just heard.
That's when
That's
Clint's
so
like,
true. I'm like,
"Oops."
all right, dope. James Wan's got a new horror movie. I'm not watching this. I don't want to get spoiled for me. What are you doing, Clint? Trying to spoil things for people. Just show the poster, man.
I know.
Post that trailer.
I like getting excited. I don't know. It looked good to me. It looked good. Very insidious, like I would say.
Yeah, it's got a pretty unique premise so far, so I'm looking forward to it.
Is Patrick Wilson in this film?
I don't think so.
Dang.
James Wan's best friend,
Yeah, right.
but like for real.
Oh,
Probably. Okay, so there's that one. Did you guys watch the last Duel trailer?
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I'm same.
Okay.
I love me some medieval Ridley Scott with Oscar winners for writing, and then some awesome A-lister actors who are also the people who wrote it, which means they're emotionally invested in it. And this will probably make no money.
Matt,
That
stop
sounded
listening.
really good.
They're
It's
they're
great.
making
It
this
looks
up.
great.
Hold on, I
It
gotta
does.
look
It
this
looks.
up,
It
man.
actually looks amazing.
When was the last time we got like a big budget period piece in theaters?
It's been a while.
Everything that was big, that was like even like Macbeth with Fassbender didn't get to theaters. That was a decent budget.
Yeah, I think it's like $35 million budget.
What?
Would you consider Robin Hood?
Robin Hood was
Whatever.
bad, so
Which
Yeah.
one? I was
and
gonna say,
I would argue it's not a period piece if you've got somebody in a knit sweater.
If this movie isn't 2 hours and 45 minutes, I'm gonna be disappointed.
We'll get the director's cut, and it'll be 4 hours long.
Jesus.
Kingdom of Heaven. Oh. That's all I want. It's just Ridley Scott doing another medieval movie. My all-time favorite film is a Ridley Scott medieval movie. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this. And I get this and Dune in the same month. So I'm gonna hate Hollywood when these both bomb.
And it's got Damon and Affleck both as credits on the screenplay. They don't
Yeah.
put out
Hey, man.
crap usually.
Oh man, Goodwill Hunting in 1860.
Like 1760, but yeah. Like even earlier than that.
Yeah,
Um,
probably more like 1500, 1600.
What I kind of enjoyed about this is that they're not using like fake British French accents either. Like this is like they're Americanizing it, but
Getting that Boston accent in there.
right.
That chowder.
This is Boston in the 1600s, guys.
Gosh. Alex, I think you just ruined that movie for me. No, all I
No.
want to do is just watch that.
I have only ruined it because I've ruined the potential of what it could be, man.
They ride their horses over to some Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yield.
At the Denkin.
Oh.
Maddie, are you watching this trailer?
No, I'm reading the Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
You know they were gonna try to release it last Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Dang. I'm excited. That's good. That's good news for me. That made me smile. Now we can talk about Space Jam. I'm just playing.
No.
That's later.
Not ready for it.
Not yet. Moving on to some other news. Bassam Tariq, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, is in talks to become the Blade director for Marvel Studios. Another little known actor or little known director pulled from some indie stuff that he did well. I want this movie. Like I loved the Blade trilogy. I would say I don't like just
As a whole,
Yeah, as a whole. I'm
I love that
probably
time Wesley Snipes wouldn't open his eyes on set. So they CG.
wow.
He's a method actor, man. He's been
But the
hunting
first two
vampires
movies,
since.
pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Is that a What We Do in the Shadows reference?
Cool. Moving on. So the Fear Street director, speaking of Fear Street, wants an MCU style horror universe. Not sure how this is going to happen, especially after you watch the third one. But whatever. Would you guys want a horror movie style MCU universe?
You know, like the Rolling Stones once said,
Wait.
you can't always get what you want.
What are you saying? He wants a what?
So the director of the Fear Street trilogy,
Okay.
MCU style horror universe for Netflix.
So like
assuming-
The
Oh.
Conjuring.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean,
Okay.
he has a crap ton of Fear Street books. Just
Yeah.
keep doing this.
I don't see why not. I mean, he just
Yeah.
wants a check every few months.
Well, yes, she actually. I think she wanted like to
Yeah,
use.
why do you
like,
assume it was
the-
a he? Matt.
I thought he said he.
No, sorry if I did. No, it's a she. Her name's like Lee. I'm not gonna British her name. I'm sorry. I don't know why I do this.
It's a very
Lee's-
gender neutral name.
Anyway, I think that she had said that she wanted to use the killers that are introduced in like the movie and like have those like be the movies. I guess I don't know. Some more backstory on some of like the little.
Yeah, so just like The Conjuring, yeah. I mean, dope. Do it if you want to.
Mhm.
That's fine.
I mean, none of those worked with the Conjuring spinoffs,
Yeah.
at least that well. But I mean, this worked. Fear Street Part 2 pulls away all the characters we had in the first one, and it works really well.
Mm,
So, I mean, there's a lot of story building to it, world building to it, but that minimal concept seemed to work better than the setup. So, if I'm
right.
gonna just strip a little bit more away and do those one-offs, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And Netflix will say yes because they say yes to everything.
You want what? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you want Dark Crystal season 2? No.
Ooh.
Rest in peace with Lovecraft Country.
Oh.
I can't have nice things. It's fine.
Apparently not. Speaking of the MCU, I got two other bits of news for the MCU, sort of. Matt Shankman, who was the director of WandaVision, is actually going to be directing a new Star Trek movie. And this Star Trek movie is actually going to be making history because it is going to be written by two females. Yay!
When are
Oh.
all these Star Trek movies going to come out?
2023. June.
Is that before or after Tarantino's, and before or after the fourth one with Abrams? That's not Abrams. That had Chris Evans or Chris Pine, but not Chris Pine.
I mean, we're on a streak. We haven't had like a new Star Trek movie in years.
16?
16
maybe?
years.
Yeah, 16
Yeah,
years.
2016.
Yeah.
So 5 years.
So this one is actually, I think, going to be the one that you're talking about, Ryan. I think this is an Abrams produced Star Trek movie. I'm not entirely sure about the cast because, I mean, let's face it, Chekhov is not coming.
Boo.
Thanks.
I know. So that's sad.
That's like the worst death ever. He wasn't even like doing anything stupid. He literally just got out of his car, and his car sucks. That's all.
Wasn't he checking his mail?
Yeah, he was getting his mail, and his car had like a drive, a gear shifter that was a knob, and he didn't pull it all the way back into park. He left it in neutral.
Yeah.
So bad.
Rest in peace to Antonio.
I don't know, man.
Anyway.
So we're not getting the cast back together? It's not the old team?
Yeah.
I don't know. They didn't say. I think that I heard a rumor going around that Chris Pine was up to doing another one. I fully enjoyed this cast. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I really dug this cast. So I hope. I think Zoe Saldana is probably gonna be a little busy doing her thing, but who knows? Because I think Guardians 3 is supposed to start like pretty soon, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is projected to go 2023. I think I said it was like June 9th. It's supposed to land June 9th. So their filming is going to start like pretty soon. So
I think she'll do it.
You think so?
2009 Star Trek was one of the movies that kind of put her on the map.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, I mean, I don't know. It seems like a lot of the times that happens, those actors don't usually turn their back on it.
Right.
Even if it means phoning it in,
Mm-hmm.
Which she can do and still turn out a decent performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like she has to work on Avatar anymore.
I forgot about Avatar.
I think those are all wraps, so she's good.
I think that's what they said. More MCU news. Kate Herron, who was the director of all 6 episodes of Loki season 1, is unfortunately not coming back for season 2. Boo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a mixed boo for the most part. It's a pretty big boo.
Yeah. She said it was nothing related to Marvel Studios itself. She just had a bunch of personal projects that she wanted to take care of. So we could read between the lines if we want.
She's like, all right, I'll do the easy season. Someone else want to take the sophomore?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I thought she did well. I thought she did really well for the 6 episodes that she did. So more power to her, I guess. And last but not least, Antonio Banderas is joining the cast of Indy 5.
Oh God, I thought you were about to tell me he died.
I know. That's usually how we end these things.
I know.
It was just his soul because now he's in Indy 5.
I call it Indy 4, but whatever. But yes,
I call it Indy Y.
There's been some like behind the scenes photos that they've taken that has taken place, I guess, in 1969. Why are we going that far into the future? Like, come on. Indiana Jones needs to be Nazis and like religious relics.
I think
Instead, he's going to Woodstock.
I think they're thinking that
I
it's
think he's
that
also
or
going
de-aging.
to the moon. He's gonna go to the moon.
He's thinking what, Ryan?
So I think they're thinking that it's that or de-aging, because I don't think Harrison Ford wants to go through work to do any work. So I think he's like, put it in the age I am now compared to the first movie.
Boo.
Yeah.
It's not completely dumb, but it's funny.
Look, we've recast Solo. We've recast James Bond. We've recast Batman and Superman a few times. Why can't we do this? Come on, the man is like 80 years old.
Why do
You
we
gotta-
need to have these movies, period? Why can't we just leave the original trilogy? And
No,
You got to squeeze
done.
out
bring
every
back
drop.
Shia.
I mean, maybe they
Don't
did.
say
He's
that.
just Antonio Banderas now. I'm telling you, man. They've
Now he's
made
all grown up.
Mud Latino.
Mud Latino.
Hey, whatever works.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's the aliens. They did him.
It is
They got him.
Finally. And that's the news.
No, give us more news.
No
No more news.
more
you guys-
news.
Unless you guys got anything else.
I'm never prepared, man.
You know we go through this every week. Every week we go through
Sometimes
this.
I've done it like a couple times. I've had it pulled up already just to check to see if we miss anything. Nope. Nope. Nope.
And he's like, no.
Apparently, Mitchell's versus the Machines is Netflix's biggest animated film
Yeah,
as far as viewing goes.
good.
Hey.
Should be. Even though I haven't watched it yet.
You should watch it, man. Stop right now and go watch it.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
It's a more productive use of your time than talking about Space Jam.
Yeah.
We could all
definitely.
stop and watch it, and just leave it at that.
I don't think that's true. I can't wait to talk about this movie. It's my favorite movie so far this year.
It's. I think I agree with you completely with what that statement implies.
I know.
Um,
Yeah,
And
with
then some.
all the films that star LeBron James and Bugs Bunny, this one's my favorite.
I don't. It's also my least favorite because I can say that glass half empty there. Matt doesn't have any news. Let's roll into it.
I don't. It's more. You got
We've
everything,
started.
man.
Okay. Cool. So, as you can tell, we have reviewed a movie this week, if you want to call it that. I use that term very loosely. So, Space Jam, New Legacy, starring LeBron James, and yes, Bugs Bunny and the rest of the cast. Well, most of the cast of the Looney Tunes, and some other people. Don Cheadle. Yeah.
What's her name? Sarah Silverman, if you can say.
Oh yeah, and Steven Yeun is even in this movie.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was like, is that Steven Yeun? Okay.
Academy Award nominee Steven Yeun.
Yeah. I was like, really? You have nothing else better to do with your time? Okay. Anyway, so LeBron's kid is kidnapped by an algorithm, an AI that's in the Warner Brothers studio for some reason.
Sir, his name is Algae Rhythm.
Algae Rhythm.
Oh, because I think I made that joke last week, actually.
I think so. Who's played by Don Cheadle, and spoiler alert, is probably the most charismatic and lively person in this whole entire movie.
Eh,
No,
I
I will die on this hill.
I'm trying to think of a sarcastic retort, and I can't.
So he's kidnapped by the AI in the Warner Brothers server, and has forced LeBron James to play a game of basketball that was made by his kid, because his kid's like a video game nerd now, or is, I don't know. And so, like the first one, an NBA superstar has now have to find the rest of the Looney Tunes to help him play a basketball game in a computer underground somewhere. Um, this was a 2-hour Warner Brothers commercial. Hey, remember all this crap we have? Here it is for 2 hours. Do you remember all this? We still have this. You might want to come see this because we still have it. Here it is. 2 hours. Oh, and then LeBron James.
And then during that, when they get to the story, they just litter the background with HBO properties.
Yeah, literally every Warner Brothers property they have is showcased in this movie, if not twice. Because I believe The Matrix was like done twice, and Game of Thrones was thrown in there a few times. I even forgot this was about a basketball game. To be honest, completely honest with you, until like what the basketball game only lasts 30 minutes of this movie, if that 45 minutes. I'll be generous, 45 minutes. So yeah, this is dumb. I don't know how to, like, LeBron James is not an actor. I think that he should stick to playing basketball, if that. I like the Looney Tunes characters, like I always have since I was a kid, so that was kind of refreshing to see. But this is, like I said, this is an infomercial for Warner Brothers, and just kind of like all the stuff that they still have that maybe you forgot that they had, that now you can see on HBO Max, along with this movie. Yeah.
What? Okay, I was gonna say, what's that number, man?
4 maybe, like I can't even review this. You guys are gonna go and be like, oh yeah, so go ahead.
Who wants to go next? I'll go. If you're busting, go ahead.
I would love to, because I think I'm gonna get all my thoughts out in like a minute and a half,
All right,
maybe less.
hit us.
Solid 1. No joke, no exaggeration. It's worth a 2. It's worth a 2, and I will take that point away because it's just the studio patting itself on the back for 2 hours. There's no point to it. There's no reason to watch it. There's no story to it. There's no character arc to it. There's no life to it. There's no. The worst part about this movie, other than everything that happens in this movie, other than one funny joke that I laughed at once, is that I was constantly pitching better ways that this movie could be. And ultimately, this movie could either be less self-aware and just be a shameless knockoff of the first one, which they make like one joke about. I was expecting like 5 or 6 jokes about how, sure, I'm going to count Michael B. Jordan as the third one and say 3 jokes about. But let's, like they don't really address the fact that they're ripping it off, though. They look at the audience and they're like, oh, it's the same thing. And I'm like, great, do better. Or do the same thing, because you're not doing the same thing at all. It's nothing at all like the original. And I don't really like the original. But this is so much worse in every possible way. And around every corner, I'm like, oh, maybe they could have just made Algae Rhythm like HBO Max, and he's pitching and he's doing this, and HBO's being hilariously self-aware. Nope, he wants attention to be recognized. So I guess kidnapping thousands of people doesn't count. Like, I don't understand anything. And like, oh, the first film, they cheat their way to a basketball challenge. And this one, he's like, I'm going to challenge a basketball player to a basketball game. I'm like, why would you do that? You have the authority to just not do that and win. Like, there's no reason the movie should happen, and everything that happens in the movie happens because it's just HBO. They're like, oh, all the Looney Tunes are on other HBO properties. Why? Because he gave them the opportunity. Why would they leave? I don't understand.
Mhm.
It's bad. It's a bad movie. I enjoyed it about as much as I enjoyed Cats. No joke. I got some weird sadistic grin out of occasionally watching Cats, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm getting from Space Jam. Is this whole wow? I'm enjoying the fact that this is one of the worst ones I've ever seen, and I got that from Space Jam. And just imagine. I don't understand how it happens. I don't understand the studio. Like this film had like 4 writers at least. Someone else go. I'm done.
That was only 2.5 minutes,
Ugh,
so you went a minute over.
I'm done talking about this.
Matt, you
But
want me?
heaven
You
forbid
want
we
me to
Go-
go,
go
or
ahead.
you want to go?
Oh,
You can go ahead, man.
Yeah, there's a lot similar to what these guys have already said. This movie this movie is shameless marketing, and I mean shameless.
Mhm.
Like, Warner Brothers is just like you guys said. Hey, Matrixes aren't under our umbrella. Let's reference that. We got Game of Thrones on HBO Max. Let's throw that out there. Let's throw everything. There's an Austin Powers reference in this. For goodness sake. This movie is only, like Ryan said, a 2-hour commercial and nothing else. Because you're supposed to be a basketball themed movie. I don't even remember the basketball, to be honest with you, because it's dumb. It's in a game version. Oh, let me sidetrack and say I watched, obviously I've seen the first one already. Like, I grew up with that. But I rewatched it on HBO Max to kind of prepare myself to be able to compare the two, because that's kind of what's going to be heavily done with this movie. You're going to compare it. Like, oh man, just like who's the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron? That's going to be a conversation that happens. And while I grew up with the first one, I actually rewatched it and thought, this is not that great of a movie. I knew it wasn't that great, and I watched it fresh in my brain thinking, this is not that good. I mean, there are some moments I remember going, oh yeah, I remember that as a kid. I remember, that's kind of, that loops and loops in my brain. So out of overall, I'd give that one a 5. But this one, my gosh, everything's bad. Just about everything is bad. The acting is bad. The story is bad. None of it's necessary. LeBron, I mean, I can't knock off that he's, he can't act, because he's not an actor. But I mean, people joked and said, man, you think Michael Jordan was Denzel in the first one? And I'm like, well, LeBron makes him look like Denzel, honestly. Like, you know how in movie production or filmmaking in general, when you have to green screen a certain scene, you have markers set up in your environment, like here's X1, here's X2, or whatever, in order to know your placement. And you need to visually look to this line so your eyesight and your line of vision matches up with where we're going to digitally put this character. You could tell. I never thought I'd have to think about that in a movie, but LeBron made me think about that in a movie. I was like, he is so robotic. I mean, he's beyond bad. Like, he's not even just, I don't act bad. He is so bad in this.
Alex, you want to know something really, really funny?
What?
So this is a little side tangent, but something that I actually admire about the original Space Jam, all of that planning, that where they're like, let's just go into production and plan it all out and have all these markers, was very much missing from the first Space Jam. And it was like,
oh, okay,
react to this, react to this, react to this, post-production. Yeah, that's this, add all this in for you. And just work around Michael Jordan. And I mean, it was a complete mass production, and I cannot believe that film came out half decent. This film had the preparation for it.
Yeah, I don't understand, where that part fell through, but
I think there's probably a lot more freedom though with 2D animation to do that if you're adding that post than there is with like 3D like CGI.
Yeah. Okay.
That probably brings up the question why they switched all the Looney Tunes to 3D CGI.
Yeah, probably because it's harder. No, but I mean, so that's a positive I'll say about this movie is the animations look really nice and crisp. Even the old style 2D, yeah, they look good. And the 3D rendering of them, while silly looking and maybe overall not necessary, still cool. That's fine. Oh, another thing I absolutely despise is the inclusion of some of the other NBA stars like Anthony Davis and Damian Lillard and all that. Oh my gosh, it's so dreadful. I hate it. It's so cringy and just yeah. This movie just pales in comparison to, like Ryan said, just a half decent movie being the original. Yeah, I just this and okay, there is basketball in there somewhere, but it's not even basketball. It's like it's just like it's arcade machine basketball. Like, why do you even need LeBron? Like, what you're gonna challenge LeBron and then you're gonna make it all like this? Like, what? He's not even gonna be able to show off his abilities. Like, oh man, look at me dunk, and then I can jump on this platform to. I'm like, this movie is frustrating in so many ways. I was gonna stick to a 4 where Clint was, and then I kind of stewed over it for a couple of days, and I'm like, it deserves a 3. This deserves a 3. Maybe I think I on IMDb before I stewed on it, I gave it a 4, and I'll have to go back and change that. But overall, this movie's just shameless marketing, and it's just soulless. It like at least the original had something to it, like something unique. This just had nothing. This was purely just a properties flex for Warner Brothers. So, officially, I'm going to say a 3. Yeah, no bueno.
I loved it. Just kidding. I'm gonna start over again. This is the greatest Space Jam movie since the last Space Jam movie, which really isn't saying that much. I don't know if I hate this movie. I as much as you guys do, I just don't think there's anything to it. Like, I don't think there's any soul behind this. What makes the first one tolerable to me, and I think Ryan, you might have liked the first one more had you seen it probably like 15 years ago, at least, and you would have had that nostalgic vibe going for it. Was that you mix up that those 2Ds, your real life people and your Looney Tunes, and then you actually play a game of basketball, which is the whole point of that, and you get a decisive conclusion, and everything's all good in the end. This throws that all out the window. We obviously don't have any rules in this movie, and then if you watch the game at the end, the points don't matter anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I both hate and think it's okay that they're advertising all their products here. Obviously, they didn't really have anything to write a good script for, so they decided to pick 25 minutes to make entertaining things, throwing Looney Tunes in different properties. Whatever. If that's what you're going for, that's what you do. Fine. Whatever. Some of it was entertaining. Some of it, like, really, do we need it? Like Alex said, an Austin Power reference right now when Austin Powers hasn't really been relevant. And like, I mean, I think there was a Casablanca one too, so I don't know what that is, but really,
Yeah.
No one's going to know. These kids don't know this for what it's worth, but it's there. I'm sure some of the audience will find it entertaining. I am not going to hate on LeBron's acting as much as you guys. Of course, this is the bar set super low. Is he better than Michael Jordan? Is he worse than Michael Jordan? They're the same, man. I even might give him a slight tick up. And I compare this, and the reason I say this, if you need just comparison as far actors go, I think you've got Don Cheadle in here, which as Ryan mentioned, or as Clint mentioned, the most charismatic one in here. Which I mean, just by default, possibly, I guess, yes. But you also have these cameos by these other NBA players who try to act, and there's 2 seconds they're on there, and I think they're definitely 3 steps lower than LeBron's LeBron's doing this entire movie. So it just put it in that perspective. Yeah. So this movie really doesn't have any heart to it. I get it. He wants to reconnect with his kid. He wants to, you know, get him back. His kid stole him from him, whatever. But you play this game at the end. You play this game at the end of the movie where there's really no rules anyway. And like Ryan said, why is this guy making this up when he can literally make any decision he wants to in his universe? Like, who's setting him down to write these contracts that are like, you know what? I do have a conscience. We need to figure out a way where I can actually justify this. When at the end of the game, he's just cheating anyway, but apparently can't cheat enough to help him win. But yeah, as soon as they started like scoring random point totals for baskets, I was, not that I wasn't out of it anyway. I was just done with this movie. Overall, I didn't hate it, you know, like as much as we've hated some films before, which I'm not going to mention, just because I don't want to, you know, digress into a talk about them. So I will not drop a deuce on this. I will give this a 3. I think it's for what it's worth. It's a 3. I think kids are going to find it okay and entertaining. And it does have props, like literally the only, and here's the thing, I only really laughed at one joke, and it's the one that Ryan mentioned, and he probably, it's probably not the one you thought was funny, Ryan, but it's the one that you mentioned. And I laughed at the Michael B. Jordan gag because I was like, are they really going to go here? That's hilarious if they do. And sure enough, they went there. And I was like, okay, thanks for going all in on that. I appreciate that. That was a funny joke to do. Everything else I was good with. I do think that this movie references the first movie enough, or not enough, I should say. It does reference it. This is obviously, I think, a sequel. This all takes place in the same world, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's it. 3 out of 10. One good, clever joke for me, and that's it.
Well, I would give like I think you're right though, man. Is like I would give like a slight edge to the first one just because it has like an actual story to it. Like there's a reason why they kind of like suck him into a basketball game. There's a reason why Michael Jordan is picked, and like is, you know, because of his retirement and everything, and like the Tunes are gonna get destroyed if they don't win a basketball game or whatever.
They even had, not to cut you off, but like even that whole side plot where like the Monstars, you know, they suck the skill out of the players, and then they cutting to them and they're all sucking, and they're like, what's up with you? And they're like having like emotional crises because they can't perform anymore. And it's just like, oh, so there's some repercussions to what's going on in this.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, and again, like I give a slight uptick to LeBron's acting because for like what, 45 minutes to an hour, he was animated. So it's not like he was acting per se.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So and it's like, with Jordan, he was like full like real life the whole time.
That brings the question. One of our cooks at work asked me, it was like, wait, is LeBron animated in this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, why wasn't Michael Jordan animated when he went to Looney Tunes World in the first movie? I was like, I don't know, money. Just
I'm glad you were referencing the first movie because it's a weird thing to kind of nitpick and remember, but the aliens from the first movie were in this in a very weird way. It's like they took like those, it's like B-rolls from the first movie and they dubbed it in this, where and they don't have any like vocals or anything like that. They cut to them for a second and then switch back to whatever, and you got the little guys, they're cheering, they're either bummed based on what's going on, I don't know. And I just thought that was so weird editing. I'm like, you're not referencing this the previous movie only but like 0.5% in this entire film. Why do you need to do that? What is the point? Just to say, hey, we did this at some point, and we are aware that we had a first Space Jam. That was weird. The other thing that got back up in my brain was, so I mentioned Damian Lillard. In the movie, he can stop time. Okay, cool, because he's got his signature slogan, whatever you want to call it, Dame time. And he slows down and he can score easy and all that good stuff. And then he goes up against the granny of all people from Tweety Bird, and she
Peter's
apparently
gonna hate. Kill me.
And she goes up, and ironically, because she's so old and slow, she can somehow keep up with him.
Oh, I never put that together before.
Yeah, it's dumb. And then she scores. She steals the ball. She scores, and then LeBron. I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure this is a Matrix reference, but when I first watched this, I was like, "What?" He goes, "Oh, she's the one, or she's," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? The one? What? You've never mentioned anything about this." And I had to think back at it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a Matrix reference." And I was like, I still hate every ounce of that line. I was like, LeBron, I wish you would have just been, did like something stupid, even as like just a jaw drop, like, whoa, that was cool. I'm like, I would have hated much less. I mean, it's still been dumb, but I'm like,
Well, then we follow it with a rap battle like 5 minutes later. So that's
I had
cool.
literally forgotten about that because my brain, it's like PTSD. I have to black that part out though.
I almost very literally stopped watching after that, so I don't actually know how it ended.
No. Okay, here's what I thought you were referencing, Matt. When we talked about this before, and you told me there is one joke in there that is like, ha.
Okay.
It's kind of obvious. I thought because of the time that the first one came out, they called him Notorious P.I.G. And I chuckled a little at that. I was like, that's kind of funny, and I thought that's the joke you were talking about. So that made me chuckle. I will.
Come
admit.
on, man. No.
Well,
No.
I think all the one joke we liked about this movie are just as cringy to everyone else. Apparently,
I guess.
The only thing I thought was funny was when he crashed into Toontown and it's just the Nike check mark.
See, I thought it was okay, but at the same time, that's like that signal that's like, all right, this is this movie right now. We're just going to be advertisements all day, all day.
Oh man.
Can I say the one thing? And it's like, I mean, you have that audience of people, and one of the gimmicks of this movie is, half the audience or the audience watching the game is, proper, characters from other things.
Yeah.
That is the most cringiest thing. Like, the only cool ones, I think, were probably the Iron Giant King Kong, just because they were big enough not to look lame. Everyone else looked like extras from, like, a scary movie or superhero movie or dance flick, like people that were like parodying. And I'm like, this is the most cringiest thing ever. These people like celebrating. I'm like, it's a good idea in theory. When I see this gimpy ass like Pennywise on the sideline like cheering, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, I know. Right next to like the Mask and the Danny DeVito's Penguin. Like, what the heck is this movie?
And like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Victor Freeze. Did you see that? I was like, is this Victor Freeze? Really?
It sounds clever. Like, it sounds like, oh, that'd be cool. But then you see it on screen and you're like, you know what? No, it's not cool, man. It's not cool at all. I don't need the little monkeys from Wizard of Oz running around the court cheering people. That's just weird.
I thought it was pretty funny though that they kidnapped thousands of people for the other team, and like this kid is like, all right, that's fine. I'm still going to play against my dad and erase a couple thousand people from existence.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, why isn't this kid kind of like as smart as this kid's supposed to be? Like, why didn't he catch on to this like during the
Stockholm
game?
syndrome? I don't know, man.
Yeah, he's like, why is your dad playing you in a basketball game? Well, let's ask him.
I just like how the solution to this game is, albeit cheating is allowed, is, all right, guys, just be loony. Just be yourself, which is obviously the moral of this entire story. I'm like, shouldn't you have been doing that the entire time? I think that would have been, why did it take you so long to realize that it just won't work?
Because fundamentals win championships, Matt. It's not me going and building and stacking my team with a bunch of superstars. It's fundamentals, Matt.
It's funny too, because earlier in the movie, he's the one who wanted Superman and the Iron Giant on his team. I guess they've got better things to do, though.
I did find it surprising that Superman and any of those DC, other than Wonder Woman, they didn't have like any voice actors for like even those split seconds of like, okay, that's kind of weird.
See, that's funny because like each of us had like a different joke that we laughed at. I think mine was when he turned up as Robin. He was like, "I'm Robin. You're Robin." Who's flying this story? You were the bunny.
Such a great film. Kids will love it. People like the 8-year-olds today in 15 years will be like, "Oh man, let's watch Space Jam 2. Remember that? Wasn't that awesome?"
I kind of doubt it though, because we, as the people who, I'm going to put myself in the same category as you guys finally, and just say we grew up with this movie. But like 90s kids, we weren't entertained, and we get all the references. And the entire middle of this movie is just stuff that kids now either won't get or probably shouldn't get, but might get.
So yes and no, right? Like I agree with your statement, but I disagree that kids, because working at the theater, you're like, you catch people coming out, how was it, and all these kids are like, oh man, it was great, so, which after watching it, I'm like, I kind of get why they did, because it's very flashy, it's very in your face graphically, with all these more recent properties than not, most of the time, and it's geared towards, it's gonna sound kind of negative, but it's like the very attention span, not shallow, that's such a harsh word to say. It's like it's the attention span is not there, so we need to kind
It's not
of,
the pig crowd.
I guess
You're telling me that Space Jam 2 isn't a slow indie burn?
Yeah, right.
But no, I know what you mean.
No.
Yeah.
I will say it in a negative way. It feels very much meant for people who can't sit still with their eyes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not trying to say it negatively, but it's really like, if you don't have an attention span of a second, then this might be the movie for you.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Like the editing of this movie is very, very quick cuts, and it's like you have to be like the scenery is always changing.
Yeah,
and I'll agree with that.
so
I think that is probably like what helps the movie a little bit.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm like, I think for their demographic, if this has a specific one, it's to kind of the 9-year-old to low teens kind of crowd, and I think while we don't think it's a good movie, I think it does well for them. Like it's making its money, like it's brought in people for sure. Like, I mean,
and you got it.
Yeah.
And these people, I was going to say, these kids that age. I mean, LeBron James has been playing basketball their entire lives. Like, he's literally been the best player in the NBA for 15 years, more or less. So that's all they know.
I mean, when I was born, what? Because when was Michael Jordan's like first year in the NBA?
Like 83, 84?
I was going to guess like, 85 at the latest. So he'd already been in the league for a few years when I came around. So it's like, I kind of knew him being like the face of the NBA for a while. And then, to your point, Matt, LeBron is kind of the same thing for these kids. They kind of know him. So it maybe resonates a little bit in the same manner for them as it did us with Jordan. So it is successful in that regard, but objectively speaking, as a movie, this
the only reason this movie got made is, I don't know if LeBron was always, I don't know if it was Kobe before him, but I'm pretty sure it's LeBron being nostalgic for the first movie and trying to get the second movie made. And that's literally it. Just the NBA players themselves being nostalgic for it. And that's why we got this cash grab, if you will.
Yeah. That's what it is.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of kids running around with like Looney Tunes shirts on now or anything like that.
I know, that's a shame of this movie. Like, I kind of dig the color scheme. Like, I like the blue, like the, I don't know, turquoise and like sunset orange kind of scheme that they go. Like, man, that's actually kind of a cool design. But I know if I get it, I'm selling out, and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. Not getting it. Not getting LeBron sneakers. I'm not getting the hats. I'm not getting the Toon Squad jersey. I'm not getting the Goon Squad.
I would also like to say how much of a downgrade or down step for me that the opposing team Goon Squad is from Monstars.
Yes.
Come on, man. Bring back the Monstars. Goon Squad. That just sounds like that sounds like the team that plays the Harlem Globetrotters.
I can't even whistle at all.
So stupid.
Yay, fun movie.
Oh man.
I also really hated when they CGI'd Don Cheadle.
Oh
into
yeah,
Super
we were
Don
talking
Cheadle,
about this.
Super Saiyan Don Cheadle. Like
I forgot. About
everyone else is like CGI, like straight up cartoon CGI, and he's like CGI body, but then they like superimpose his face on it. It just was not feeling that.
He's like late
Was not
90s.
feeling that.
He's like
don't-
late 90s CGI.
Yeah, but don't worry, he got posterized. So
Oh God, he got posterized.
yeah,
No.
whatever. Warner Brothers.
Sorry. Ryan is not as inspired by this movie as he was by Fast 9. Obviously.
I'm not. I'm going to get to the end of the year. This is how I judge movies like this, especially. I mean, I've been thinking about my top 10 worst movies of 2021 for the last couple weeks. I can't imagine why. And I cannot think of any reason Space Jam won't be my number one. At least
Meteor
it better
hit
be
here.
my number one. I can't handle a worse movie than this year.
Now that you say that, I should have prefaced my review by going, and this is coming from someone who actually enjoyed Cats, kind of. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at least, yeah. I was about to say something nice about Cats. I'm not going to do that.
Whoa, let's not lose ourselves here, Ryan.
Nicer. I'm done.
So you ready for Space Jam? Wait, I need to ask this question. I've already asked Alex. Why are these movies called Space Jam?
Well, the first one, they're from outer space. So this should have been called Cyber Jam.
Yeah,
Cyberspace Jam.
that's what I thought Cyberspace
Well,
Jam
Cyberspace
would have
Warner
been.
Brothers. Oh, wait.
Space Bar Jam.
Scooby-Doo
Because
joke.
it's
for-
computers.
Yeah, why are we going to show the Mystery Machine in this and not show any fake-looking people cosplaying as the Scooby Gang?
They actually did.
You know,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that thought to my brother earlier today.
It's
I said
Very quick.
sorry. What was I saying? Space Jam. Yeah. Why are they called Space Jam? He goes, I don't know. Maybe it's like how like Madagascar, the third one, is like something called Euro something. I never saw the third one. Is it Euro? So I don't know. Well, it's
Isn't
called
it like Europeans Most Wanted or something stupid like that?
Something
I
like
don't.
that,
It says Europe something, and he's like, it doesn't take place at all in Madagascar, and I get, oh, okay. I mean, I guess this one, it's okay in the first one to be called Space Jam because it involves space, but it doesn't take place in space, so I'll let that slide. But this one absolutely doesn't take place or mention it or anywhere near it, and he's like, I think it's just because it's in the franchise of Space Jam, so let's just call it Space Jam.
You know what made like the background audience less distracting? Benches for them to sit on. Everyone's standing and they're all like on the same level, which means like the front 2 rows can see.
There's like a slight gradient going up, so they're all
Just so we
standing
can
uncomfortably
see
on the hill.
how many properties they have.
Yeah.
I
Look
thought
at my
they just
work
had
King
King Kong and
Which
Iron
I'm
Giant.
gonna honestly say that I forgot that they own Hanna-Barbera. So like when all those when Scooby Doo and the Flintstones and all that just started showing up, and I seen the Jetsons in the background, I was like, who is that? Judy Jetson? Okay. I was like, oh yeah, they do own Hanna-Barbera, don't they?
Whatever they
between-
own was in this.
I mean, they're getting their money's worth out of King Kong and Iron Giant between this and Ready Player One, man.
Oh, right. That's literally what I thought when they just started like flooding all that place. I was like, is this like a Ready Player One reference? Nope, it's the basketball game.
These Ready
I was trying to
Player
figure
had a-
out. There's
had a
one
story.
main guy who's in the back, and I can't tell if he's supposed to be like Voldemort or like he looks like a cross between Voldemort and like the Ice King or whatever.
Oh,
the Night King.
I think he's. You
He's the
mean
Night King.
he's the Night
Mhm.
King?
Is he?
He is.
Okay.
He is.
Yeah, cosplaying as the Night King.
Yeah, I think because you could see he had that like bluish tone, and they had the like little kind of side hornish things, and I was like, yep, that's him.
Yeah.
Somehow the most disappointing use of the Night King.
You know what's weird though too is like they had like the '60s Batman and Robin in there, and then they had the '60s Penguin in there, and then Danny DeVito's Penguin, and I was like, why? Okay, all right.
Because if we start putting all of the live action ones, they got to put that Ben Affleck one in there somewhere. So, and they were like, no, let's not open up that can of worms.
You know what might have been kind of great, other than a lot of things. If they just if he had put together his dream team of Warner Brothers properties just for fun, and they did game and got destroyed, and he was allowed to go collect another team, and then Bugs was like, "Well, you're stupid for doing this. Let me just grab my crew." And it made more sense that he'd already tried and failed with Superman and the Iron Giant and a bunch of other players, and we could have gotten some nice cameos, and also had them be completely worthless instead of getting some nice cameos and being completely worthless, and then being in the background for every single shot.
I'd have been down for that. That's a better structure.
They can't play with Superman because every time he tries to like dribble the ball, it just blows up.
That'd be great.
Or he shoots it and it just way misses
He's
the
trying
goal.
to teach fundamentals to people who clearly can't use them because of their own abilities that he picked them for.
Yeah.
I like how the French skunk can't be in this, but the Mexican mouse can.
Ooh, I was actually really surprised he was in this movie. I was like, oh, well, Speedy's cool.
Yeah, apparently Gabriel Iglesias, I guess, like really fought hard to put him back in there because they started throwing around the ethnic card, and he was like, "Why? He's Mexican. I'm Mexican. It's nothing offensive."
You're telling me Pepe Le Pew isn't French?
See, it's almost like they could have changed the character a tiny bit. They didn't do that with Lola at all, right? Now she's actually a really boring character instead of a really offensive character.
Oh my gosh.
So
No, she's an
don't
Amazon.
talk about my girls today. I like that.
oh my god.
Brian, I didn't
Sorry.
even mention that. Yeah, go ahead, Clint.
What was the deal with this? Like, apparently people are mad that she voiced Lola. Okay, go. Do you have an answer for this?
Well, I mean, I can just voice my opinion. It was so I have nothing against Zendaya. Awesome actress and everything. Malcolm and Marie exclusion. And I hated her as Lola Bunny. It was so like because she has kind of a deeper voice, and it's just not compared to the original. Like it just doesn't fit, and it was so off-putting. And I was like, the only thing I liked about her being Lola is that it wasn't for very long because Lola was like voicing for like 2 minutes, maybe.
Now, sorry, just to interrupt you. Now, if you didn't know it was Zendaya, could you really tell?
Nope.
No.
So why put her in it? They've got the money for the people, and then they're like, let's just scatter a bunch of people who obviously aren't these actors in the background as people that we know don't look like that.
I wouldn't have been able to tell it was her, but I still would have thought that's a weird voice for her.
Okay, that's fair, but and that's what I'm saying is like I literally sat through this movie and was like, okay, I've seen Zendaya in 3 major movies now, and if I didn't know that this was Zendaya, I wouldn't have picked her out of the crowd. I'd have been like,
yeah,
okay.
Exactly. That's why I say it's not her. Like
Mm-hmm.
Personally, it's just like some people are just. It's just not a right fit, and I don't think this was a right fit for her. But whatever.
Lola Bunny wasn't sultry enough for Alex. Is what he's trying to say.
Exactly, man. I need my bunny to be more sultry if she's going to be a part of this.
She's an Amazon now.
Heck, she probably would have been a better Wonder Woman.
Yeah, where was Gal Gadot doing? She couldn't voice Lola.
No, apparently they wanted the animated voices, which was our Zero Dawson, by the way.
I was trying to. I kept thinking that. Like, I was trying to think, was she Gal Gadot in this? I actually kind of thought it was her. I was like, it kind of sounds like her, but it's not.
No, it's Rosario Dawson.
Okay.
I think I know specifically why. I'm not trying to change the topic too much. why I really, really hate this movie. It's because I really, really like Looney Tunes Back in Action. And I know that's not a good movie.
No.
Brendan Fraser.
No,
But, like,
this topic came up at work.
Yeah.
Yes.
That movie's a blast. It's not good. It's such a blast. And they do all the stupid Warner Brothers cameos on the Warner Brothers lot really well. Where it's like, oh, we have Matthew Lillard sitting with Scooby and Shaggy and they're mad at him for the live action movie. That's funny. It's self-aware. It's plugging a property and it's not too distracting. Things like that. The Batmobile shows up. All these little things. Brendan Fraser's mummy exists, I guess, in that world. Stuff like that. Or the movie does anyway. Like the little things that are actually funny that they can put in and plug Warner Brothers. Or even in the original Space Jam where he's like got Warner Brothers stitched to where Daffy Duck's got Warner Brothers sewn to him. There's ways to do this. And this movie just doesn't even bother. It doesn't try at all.
It's like the Zombieland. No, not Zombieland. Army of Darkness of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, you're right, Ryan. They don't try to be clever enough in this movie, and I think that's where it falls short. And I mean, maybe that's why the Nike logo is funny to you, because that's actually clever. That's kind of funny. For me, the Michael Jordan thing, even though it's kind of obvious, I'm glad they went and did it because I thought it was clever and funny. But everything else just seemed lazy and like. No, I was just gonna say it just seemed lazy. Like, all right, here's a property. Let's throw some Looney Tunes in there. Let's have them, interact, and then we got the team back together, and that's all that we get.
I probably would have given Rick and Morty a good chuckle because their cameo wasn't like out of the way. Except Rick and Morty sucks right now.
You telling me Rick and Morty was good?
I think there's definitely a peak season 3 where. Anyway, it's a whole nother topic. I'll talk about it when I finish this season.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of weird why they all left. Like Ryan, you mentioned it before, like why they all left. Like
because you gotta assemble the team, which is usually a fun montage in movies. Freaking original Muppets movie. It's like the highlight of the movie where they're going around and getting a team, and then Rolf's like, "Why didn't you do my flashback?" And they're like, "Hey Rolf, you want to come with us?" I love things like that. And this is like, it's just an excuse. It's just a really, really, really poor excuse to go around and do an unnecessary. The movie could be, I mean, I made a joke that it could be 2 hours shorter, but like you could easily cut 30 solid minutes out of this movie and not change the lack of integrity that it has, but could have. And you shouldn't be able to do that with any movie that's not a Snyder cut. Love to the Snyder cut. But I mean, that's 4 hours long. Obviously, you can cut 30 minutes out and keep the integrity of that movie. This is a 2-hour movie. You shouldn't be able to cut 30 minutes out of it.
Right. Oh well. All right. Are we done with this movie? Can we forget that this ever happened?
Cool. Yeah, I guess so.
That's
also,
why
the director of this movie also directed Scary Movie 5. Do I think that's a coincidence and the way that these background actors look? No, I do not.
No, I don't either. No, not at all.
And Undercover Brother.
What?
I can't wait for the G.I. Joe spinoff to bury this movie at the box office. And I don't like that sentence.
Speaking of, just kidding. Not kidding. So we're moving on because this movie's dumb. It made no sense whatsoever. And LeBron James needs to stop while he's ahead.
Make a number 3 with them all in the real world. Space Jam 3, back in action. Just for you, Ryan.
Please don't.
Probably, I was going to say I won't watch it, but if we're still doing this and it comes out, I'll probably have to watch it.
Yeah, unfortunately. Okay, so moving on. Next week, we have a choice. Do we do Old by M. Night Shyamalan? Or do we do Snake Eyes with Harry Golding?
Well, I'm flexible. I'm watching both and more. So
yeah, I will be watching both as well.
I really think the Snake Eyes movie is gonna bomb. I really do.
As long as it beats Space Jam. It could come in 4th place as long as Space Jam comes in 5th place.
Space Jam barely. I didn't see the numbers for this week, but I mean, it was outperforming Black Widow by probably about like 10 to 15% at our store. So we'll see what the second week does. But I'm down for either one. I'm more interested to see Old, but I will watch Snake Eyes if need be.
Why don't we plan on doing, Ryan, are you in the same boat of watching both?
I am going to watch both. I got my tickets for both. I am not 100% sure of my availability for the next 3 weeks because I'll be out of state. So I'll talk to you guys about that afterwards. And
oh yeah, he's doing something kind of important soon, right?
Getting married in another state, and then I'm going to another state to be on the beach for a while. But I'll make some pre-recorded. Let's get a couple right out of the way right now. I'll do 2 options for Old. Wow, what an original movie! It's like Split, great marketing, super vague, or oh my gosh, I don't know. It had a good concept going, but the ending was just M. Night Shyamalan cannot stick a landing. They're reviewed Old. Just pick one of those 2.
I'll try to put that in there.
Just kidding. I
have a feeling it's going to be the latter one.
Yeah, I was going to review some like odd little snippets like that and just send you random clips of interjections. Be like, I don't understand that 90s reference. You guys can just throw that in there. We're getting an animated spinoff of what now?
Yeah, right. Netflix animated
At least
series.
It's not Artemis Fowl.
Bing. Yeah.
You think they could screw the animated version of Artemis Fowl up?
Not any worse than the live action version.
Yeah, exactly. Probably.
I said that about a couple different movies, and I think I always regret it because we were like, man, Fantastic Four can't be any worse. I'm trying to give him a more recent example, but yeah, Space Jam. Where kids nowhere to go but up.
That's right. Especially this year. All right. Well, since the 3 of us, excluding Ryan, is going to be seeing both of these, why don't we just review both of them? Because yeah, I'll be hanging out with Mr. Oasis tomorrow. So,
woot,
woot, woot. All right then. Anything else, guys? No? All right. Well, just a quick reminder for everyone out there, if you'd rather take us on the go, please listen to us. Our audio version is on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and Spotify. And thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. Please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment. We like hearing from people. If nothing else, this meeting's adjourned. See you guys next week.